Welcome to Just Getting Started. I'm Nicky Hughes, your host, and today's episode is a real treat. I'm talking with Benjamin Sand, fascinating character, spends his time in between Europe and Asia, has lived his entire life on the road, and he makes his living writing about great food and really great specialty coffee. He's going to give us some unique insights from the best coffee shops all around the world. It's a fascinating story, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So grab a cuppa, pull up a chair, and enjoy this one. Benjamin Sand, it's hard to keep track of you. You're in either in Thailand, or you're in Finland, or you're in Denmark, or you're in Oslo. What's going on? Who are you?
International man of mystery. My friends in Norway call me the international asshole, actually, because they're jealous that I'm always away in the sun. I grew up in Asia, so I've spent most of my life in those parts. So I come back to Europe generally for the sort of from May until October, and then try and head back if I can. So
Okay.
that's been the way I've lived my life.
All right. Well, we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. The reason we're here, of course, today is to talk coffee and all things coffee. But as usual on the show, we're very interested to know about the person behind the coffee. So that's where we're going to start, if that's okay. And so where would you call home? Is it Europe, or is it Asia, or a combination of both?
Combination. I've never had like a fixed home. Even since we were kids, our parents sort of grew up moving a lot. So every time I come back to Europe, I have to find a place to live or a short-term rental place. So same in Asia. I stay in hotels, guest houses, Airbnbs, things like that. So yeah, I haven't really had a home for, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, maybe. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Well, that's fascinating. And what line of work, if you don't mind me asking, were your parents in that allowed you to be so transient?
They actually did orphanage work in India. So that's how, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but that's how I know Luke, because we went to the same school, actually, in a place called Uti in South India.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we were in the same class. So we know each other from there, but we actually haven't met since school. So
Okay.
that's 30, 30 years ago.
Goodness me. Right. Well, for
Yeah.
those who just need to be brought up to speed there. So Luke, of course, is the former owner of the specialist coffee community. He's done just amazing work setting it up and handing over a wonderful legacy to the rest of us here who are going to carry it on to the next stage. So best wishes to Luke if he's listening. And wow, that sounds like a story that I need to ask him about as well. His life growing
Yeah.
up in India. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your parents worked in orphanages in India.
Yeah. Like
Um,
missions orphanage work. Yeah.
yeah,
In
were
India.
were they
And
Christian people, or?
yeah, they still
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, good,
And
good.
then we did like we weren't, but Luke was there more permanently because his parents were actually working with the school. So our thing was my parents were on tourist visa, so they would go out for 6 months or a year, but then we'd go back to Europe, and then we'd spend 6 months or a year in Europe, and then we'd go back. So it was quite hectic as a child.
Okay, and where were they from then?
Finnish mother, Norwegian father.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's getting
Yeah.
better by the minute.
But we were born in England, which confuses it even more. And so when we went back from India, we'd go to England, not to Norway. We'd go to Norway or Finland in the summer just to visit family, but we were based more in England.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you grew up in India, and then you headed to Asia. Is that right?
You know, long story short, we came back to England, moved to Norway for 6 months. I moved to LA for a year. And then I started traveling in India again. And then I got a call from some friends in Copenhagen who was starting a band, and they needed a manager. So I moved to Copenhagen to work in the music business. And through that, I started my career in music, which was about 20 years, maybe. So I used to tour manage bands, which included a lot of traveling. And then I worked for 15 years as a concert promoter in Oslo. So I booked concerts at 2 venues, and I ran a festival. And then just before COVID, I quit that, wanted something different. So I studied for 3 years, which is also why I was in Asia for the last 3 years. So I finished school in June this year. So now just trying to find a job online so that I can keep doing my thing, traveling around.
Yeah. And
So
what did you study?
graphic design, so sort
Yeah.
of not too far away from what I was doing before.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. And so the music business. So you're a musician yourself, obviously, are you?
I'm not a musician. I worked as a tour manager,
Right.
so basically a glorified babysitter
Yeah.
for a band. So making sure they get on stage, they get to the right city on time, we get the money at the end of the night. Make sure nobody gets too drunk, which was impossible. Yeah, basically just a nanny for 7, 8, 9 people.
Yeah.
Quite an exhausting job. And then the concert promotion was more like I worked at a specific venue, so I was hired by the venue to book all the shows there. So then I could kind of put my imprint on the place,
Right.
book shows
Right.
that
Like
I thought were cool, stuff like that. So that was great.
yeah. Is the whole notion of settling down a completely foreign notion to you?
100%. Yeah.
So when people talk about settling down, what kind of images that evoke in your mind, if any images at all?
Uh, I think it's the thing about our school was that we had a mix of people. So either you had like missionary kids, or you had business kids, or you had army people, like people whose father worked in the army somewhere in Asia. And the school was kind of the reputation of the school was very good. So a lot of people sent their kids to the school from Singapore, from Australia, from even some from Africa, Middle East. So we had kids from everywhere. And when they left school, it's kind of divided into the middle with those who went back to their country of origin, got a wife, got kids, stayed there. We're like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to plant roots here. And then the other half who were like 1 year in Dubai, then they moved to Melbourne, then they're in Argentina. So it was very kind of split in how people reacted to growing up in a third culture. So I've chosen the latter. Yeah, moving around a lot. So
Yeah,
I've
was
had
it
periods of home, but not for a long period.
yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds like it was a conscious decision to keep moving.
yeah, it's what I like the best. It's what suits my personality, and I enjoy it. So, and you have to make a compromise in life with whichever one you choose. So I chose that the positives of this lifestyle outweigh the negatives. So
So what are the positives of this lifestyle?
my greatest thing is finding new places and exploring, especially food and coffee. So for me, it's like every day I wake up and I have a list of 3 places that I can go to try food, and then 2 or 3 cafes I can hit. And I love that adrenaline rush of finding new places and then being able to tell other people about them. Um, I love the you're always meeting new people, interesting people, and you're invariably meeting people who kind of align with your lifestyle because they're out of their comfort zone also. So that's those are all positives, but of course the negatives, if you look at them, it's not very stable. It's hard to maintain friendships, relationships, all that kind of stuff. So even jobs, because not all employees want you to be able to work remote. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I spent a number of years traveling myself, backpacking,
Hmm.
way back in the early 90s. And it was absolutely a life, not a life altering, but a life creating experience that I myself and my friend had. And one of the things looking back on the journey from that point until now is that I suffered a little bit from the tyranny of choice, because that's a phrase that I'm coining. And what I mean by that is that when you're free and able to go wherever you want to go, whenever you want to go, the world is an absolute just an opportunity in the global sense. So you've got so much choice. You can do whatever you want to do. And therefore, it makes it hard to actually choose one thing to pin your
Mm,
collar to and stick at one thing. Do you find that as well? Or,
for sure, yeah.
yeah,
We like to use the phrase "spoilt for the ordinary," um, because
spoiled
like
for the ordinary. That's
yeah,
great. Yeah.
kind of like ordinary life becomes quite mundane and boring or difficult when you're used to something like that. So, but yeah, it does get like that. If you have the ultimate freedom, then you can be like, well, I could go to India, but then I could go to Japan, I could go to Thailand, I could go to South America. So that can be confusing also.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's amazing. And
You were backpacking in Asia, or
yeah,
when?
so in '92, myself and a friend, we bought an old camper van, an old Volkswagen Combi, and we traveled overland to Australia. Now,
Oh yeah.
yeah, from Ireland to Australia. So obviously, once you get on the continent of Europe, you can go all the way to Indonesia without touching water, which is what we did. Now, the Combi didn't get us that far because it broke down. The engine fell out one day, and we gave it to the local constabulary, and we headed off with our backpacks and backpacked the rest of the way to Australia. So, and then it was a 6 month tour of duty around Australia, and then there was a trip to the States, and then back home eventually. So yeah, loads of travel, but really, really eye opening stuff. It's wonderful.
So you drove? Did you drive through Iran?
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Iran,
gorgeous country.
amazing,
I
amazing.
love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we just had transit visas, and we were able to just get across.
Mm,
So in and out, but really lovely place as well. Yeah.
yeah. That's such a
Um,
bad rap, but the people are amazing there.
yeah, amazing. Really
Mm.
amazing. And actually the Middle East was probably the highlight of all of our travels. In the old Syria before it got destroyed was just a treasure trove. I mean, the underground souks and the mad stuff around Damascus and so on. It's just an incredible place, incredible part of the world.
Did you go to Lebanon?
Yes, we did. Yeah,
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 I've been there a couple of times. I love
yeah,
Lebanon as well. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We had a friend who
Beirut's a
worked for.
crazy city.
Yeah, it really
Mm.
is. But beautiful as well. The Paris,
Yeah,
the Paris of the Middle East. Yeah.
yeah.
So where did the coffee love come from?
It's a bit of a strange story because Luke and I actually one of the first experiences of not I wouldn't call it specialty coffee, but I would call it not commodity coffee. It was actually in the town we grew up in India because there was of course Indian coffee is famous for generally being very sweet and just like instant coffee, and they put a lot of milk in it and then they kind of foam it. So it's not really to my taste. But then there was a guy who started. He bought a espresso machine and a grinder, and he started a small. He literally just had a shop front with a like a what do you call it, blind that you pull down like a shutter.
A
So
roller
he would just
scooter.
open it, and then it was just there was nothing in there except for his machine and his grinder and coffee. And he franchised Coffee Day, which went on later to become a big chain in India. So that was one of the first ones. And he served actual coffee, like filter coffee or espresso. So that was the first taste of something different that I had. Well, I was maybe 14 or 15. And we used to go there and it cost like 2 rupees or 3 rupees for a little cup like this. And
Yeah,
then actual independent coffee is when I moved to LA in 96. There was a place which I went to with a friend of mine who's from Florida. He was super into coffee, so that was like my first kind of Americano or that kind of where it's not a commodity bean again. And there was a place in San Francisco I used to go to called Cafe Roma. They roasted in house, so when you walked in, you saw the roaster on the left. Um, and then I had many years where I didn't drink coffee because I had really bad anxiety when I drank it. So I
yeah,
actually didn't drink coffee at all for a long, long time. Then I got back into it maybe 10 years ago, and like specialty nerd level coffee, a friend of mine introduced me to it about 5 years ago, maybe like super nerdy stuff. And then I was just hooked after that. So like we were talking about online geisha and like all the different varietals and the different light roast, of course. He was always
yeah.
pushing me to drink lighter and lighter and lighter, which I was skeptical at the beginning, and now I can't. I can't eat. I can barely even drink medium roast anymore. But
Right, right,
so
right.
I'm
Okay.
a Nordic disciple. Yeah.
So I need to probably take a step back and kind of continue to dig in on the whole travel piece. So before we get back to coffee again,
Hmm.
of course,
Sure.
but how does one? Obviously, I don't wish to pry into your personal circumstances, but how does one fund oneself in this lifestyle that you've got at the moment, or that you've had since
Yeah.
school?
Um, a mixture of things. One thing where I was really lucky was when I tour managed. It was pretty much the main times when bands tour are spring, summer, and fall. There's not that many bands touring in the winter, just logistically and Christmas and New Year's and all that kind of stuff. So if I did tours, I would work pretty much the spring, summer festivals, of course, in the summer, and then the fall. So those months, I would save up money. because when you're on tour, everything's provided. You get your hotel, or we sleep in a bus, like a tour bus. All your food, everything you get per diems every day, like which is an amount of money for food. So you can save. You don't really have any expenses at all. So then I would just save that money and then go for 6 months or 4 months every winter to travel. And then when I started booking, I actually knew the guy who ran the venue, and he told me he wanted me to start booking there. And I said, only if I can leave every year from October until April. And he was like, okay, well, as long as you're doing your job, you don't mess anything up, and you keep the standards high, we can do that. So I would work while I was traveling for
Yeah.
those 15 years.
Okay.
So that was a little bit more challenging, because before that I used to do more kind of extreme, like 3 months just in the Himalayas, which you couldn't do without Wi-Fi now, having a job. So I had to be a little bit more kind of conscious of where I'm going, and knowing that they had stable internet connection, since I had concerts that I had to send all the information to the sound man and the technical people. So that was a little bit more. It wasn't really traveling, but it was working abroad, on the road. Then the
Yeah.
last 3 years it's been school. So I've just been studying on. My class was on a university online, so I just did that in Asia. So
Okay, let's dig into that a little bit. So you have embraced the world of online working,
yeah.
and how do you make your money online? For the
Now I'm
for
right.
those for those who are not familiar with school and so on.
Well, now what I'm hoping to do is get jobs that are like within my field of graphic design. On the side, I write for two publications. One's called Sprudge, which is an American coffee website from Portland. They're kind of, if people don't know them, they're kind of like considered the OG specialty coffee website. And then there's one called Barista Magazine, which I just started writing for a couple of months ago. So I've done 3 or 4 articles for them. So that's just on the side. That's just because I love writing and I love coffee, so it works perfectly. I would prefer it, of course, if one of them said they wanted me to write for them full time. But until that happens, I have to try and do some work on the side to be able to fund that.
Yeah, yeah. So what would it look like if hypothetically one was able to make a living traveling, writing with the sole subject matter being coffee? What would that look like on an annual basis?
I think I would do, if it was for something like Sprudge, I feel like they have very good coverage of the United States and parts of Europe. I feel like they've got a very big gap in Asia. They have a few cities, which they've done, like the bigger cities like Hong Kong, Tokyo, of course, Seoul. I've done a lot of the Asian guides for them in the last year because there was a huge gap. So I would love to be able to be more of the Asia dude there, like the Asia editor, which meant actually going to the coffee festivals in Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, China. China's a big market, and there's almost no guides in China at all. So I would love to focus for half a year just on China. The Middle East also, there's nothing for Dubai, which is shocking. Abu Dhabi, Muscat, even Cairo in Egypt doesn't have a guide. So I pitched all of these things to them. It just, I have to be able to have a job at the same time so that I can have money coming in so that I can go there and do those things. So that would
Yeah,
be the ideal plan for me, would be to be able to sort of base myself in Bangkok or Kuala Lumpur, and oh, okay, there's the Vietnam AeroPress Festival next week. Jump over there. Oh, there's a Philippines Barista Championship in September. Go over there. That kind of thing. That would be amazing.
okay. Tell us about that coffee culture in Asia, where it's come from, where it's at today, and where do you see it going, and what are the countries that are at the absolute forefront of it?
I think China is the sleeping giant. It's kind of or always been known as a tea company, tea country, of course. They've started to really get into coffee, and they're growing their own. There's some beans from Yunnan province which are starting to get kind of well known. They're decent, and the coffee culture there. There's more and more specialty shops opening in the big cities. So I think China's like it's going to be the next thing there. Then you have Indonesia, of course, is famous for Sumatra and Java, the coffee there. They're crazy about coffee, the whole nation. There's like in Sumatra, there's coffee shops on every corner. That's a bit more earthy, spicy kind of coffee, the taste. And they have they're getting very much into these new processes like it's called mosto and like anaerobic fermentation and co-ferments. So it's a little bit. I'm not personally into that. It's where you kind of they're trying to push the yeast or trying to extract flavors that are extreme, like very blueberry intense, very cherry, very red fruit. Um, God bless them. If that's what they like, it's all good. But I'm like a light roast, washed, clean coffee kind of person. Thailand is the same. They grow a lot of coffee in Thailand, in the north. Really, it's getting really good. They have a very good underground scene, a very good specialty coffee scene. Malaysia is, I think, also fantastic. They have both high-end coffee, like you can get a $30 cup of excellence winner cup, poured perfectly, or you can get a decent cup for $2, $3. Um, Hong Kong also, Korea's got a great scene. Taiwan has an amazing scene, but I think Taiwan and Japan is a little bit more not safe in a boring way, but they stick a little bit more to the middle. Great coffee. It won't kind of shock you, but it'll be solid, clean, well prepared, great equipment, source great beans. Well, Singapore's got some fantastic coffee shops, but I think it's a little bit similar to Taiwan and Japan, a little bit in the middle there. Let me think where else. India's got a good specialty coffee scene that's starting, but my thing, I've discussed it with Luke also on school, is that their coffee has traditionally been a little bit kind of spicy also, and they were famous a few years ago for that Monsoon Malabar, which had that a little bit of a musty kind of a taste. So I would love to see India growing different kinds of coffee and trying to do something new, which I hear they are up in the northeast now. They're starting to grow
Yeah.
in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, those areas. So could be really cool because they've got mountains, so they can do high altitude stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asia's a
Yes.
fantastic place for coffee. Really, really fantastic.
It's amazing, yeah. And what are you interested in? I'm trying to, take you as a connoisseur, obviously. So what are you most interested in? Are you most interested in the science? Are you most interested in the culture? Are you most interested in the flavors? What is it about specialty coffee that drives you?
Um, it's the people usually. It's
Yeah.
like well, I love going to places where the person who's running the coffee shop is super passionate about what they do, and they're trying to do something that is their thing. Like they found their lane, and this is what they're sticking to, and they're not getting distracted by whatever new craze is coming or hype or whatever. So, for instance, like there's a guy in Chiang Rai in North Thailand called not hobby local coffee. So he has a coffee shop. I think it was Luke or someone recommended it to me when I went there. He has a roaster next to his coffee shop, and he just roasts coffee from mostly from Thailand, light roast his way, and then he prepares it in his coffee shop. And they're closed on Sunday so that he can have time with his family. And it's just like you walk in there, you feel like you're a friend. Great coffee, really well prepared. Places like that I love going to. I think it's a little bit like food for me. If you were to offer me like a Michelin star, like 8-course tasting menu, it might be a fantastic experience. But day to day, I would rather just have a bowl of ramen, like something kind of personal and just easy and comforting, and that kind of coffee as well works for me. Whereas the super extreme $200 geisha is like a experience, but it's not something I want day to day. I want coffee to be like a relaxing experience, not something where you feel like you have to wear a suit and tie to it.
Yeah. If we compare the coffee industry with the specialty coffee industry with the wine industry.
Yeah,
Is coffee snobbery a real thing, and how do you cope with that?
it definitely is a real thing. But it's one of those things where everything's subjective, but there's also some truth to being right about something. So I can understand it from both sides. Like if a barista, if you've got a coffee shop that's a specialty coffee shop where you've spent months and months sourcing great beans, and you've personally gone to the farmer and you know how they do everything, dry everything, package everything, send it to you, you get the beans, you roast them, you've spent months creating a great profile, and then someone comes in and wants that as a milk drink. I can see them like smiling and serving it to them because it's that person's choice in the end. But at the same time, it's like, if you've gone through all that trouble, you might as well just go to a generic coffee shop and get a milk drink, because a roast that's like dark or medium is going to be disguised by the milk anyway. So if you've got a light roast coffee, it's probably not going to taste that great in a milk drink anyway. It's going to be more sour or acidic or fruity. So that I think you can kind of justify being snobby about that and just saying, oh, we only serve black coffee if you're having light roast.
Yeah,
in a way, yeah.
yeah, and I'm thinking about how do I describe it? The maturity of an industry, right? So if we consider that today the majority of coffee drinkers around the world, I think that's a fair statement. The majority of coffee drinkers around the world are the grab a coffee on your way to work type person in the big chain and so on.
Yeah.
And then if we take specialty coffee as the next rung up the ladder, or the next stage of the evolution of the industry, shall we say, where do you see specialty coffee sitting today in its evolution? Are we still at a stage 1 of the evolution, or are we well down the road towards 10 in terms of its maturity?
It's growing year on year for sure, but I would say maybe a 3.
Maybe a 3. Wow.
Maybe
yeah.
a 3. Because I think still you get a lot of people coming into specialty coffee shops and they just have no idea what they're doing in there. They just maybe read about it or saw a TikTok. And they kind of ask for a matcha latte. And it's like, look at the menu. There's like Ethiopian, Colombian, Kenyan coffee we have in a V60, and they want a matcha latte. So I still think there's definitely more and more people getting into it, but even amongst my friends who are generally quite nerdy about food, about wine, about whiskeys, about cinema, books, when you talk to them about coffee, I'd say 8 out of 10 of them still think that they're being snobby, or like that their level is a flat white. That a flat white is somehow like specialty coffee or something above the mediocre line. Whereas a flat white is a very general or generic drink, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had a really interesting coffee experience this morning. Actually, I went to a local coffee shop here where I live in Ireland, and everybody
not
was.
Not to say a flat white's bad, of course. I'm not saying.
No, not at all,
yeah,
not at all.
yeah,
and that's where a lot of us started, so including myself.
Sure.
So, so what I found was that the majority of people were just going in and asking for the cappuccino or the flat white or the espresso or whatever it was, and the menu specified that the Colombian was the house blend, and then there were a number of single origin coffees. One from Ethiopia was a washed Ethiopian, and I saw this on the menu. I hadn't been there before, and the owner was behind. You could tell he was the owner behind the counter, right? And we struck up a little conversation, and I ordered the Ethiopian, and his ears pricked up, and because he was just going through the motions, serving everybody their regular coffees. Then his ears pricked up when he heard I was interested in the Ethiopian washed. I had that coffee; it was really nice. And then we struck up another conversation when we finished the coffee, and he asked me about did I want to try the Kenyan and Kenyan single origin. And I said yes, and then we got into a great conversation, and it was quite evident that he was completely lit up by this conversation. So what I observed was that he was hugely passionate about his craft and his industry and the artistry that he was bringing to the coffee world in our local town. But not many people had a single idea about what he was doing. So how do people like that, and how do people like you bring the wonders of specialty coffee to the masses or to more of the people out there? How do you do that?
I find this everywhere. And I think you can draw parallels with it to everything, to food, to music. From my personal experience with music, I was booking what I considered to be legendary or important bands who were part of influencing bands that got much bigger. We'd have 40, 50, 100 people at the show. And you're trying to tell people, like, this is the most legendary. He's probably going to die soon. He's like 75 and he's still touring. You have to go see him. And they're like, they want to go see some hip band that's selling out a big stadium. So I feel like in coffee, I've met one of my favorite coffee shops in the world is a bar in Bangkok called Moon Phases, like actual phases of the moon. And it's a guy called Tay, and he and his wife, they grew up, or they spent 10 years in Australia learning coffee. And then he moved back to Bangkok, and he has a small shop, and it's known for their espresso. But so he doesn't roast, he sources bags from different roasters that he likes. So he gets a lot from Tim Wendelbo in Norway, from Gringo in Sweden, from Friedhats in Holland, Dark, all these kind of roasters. And you go there and you just ask him what he recommends. And he'll say, I have a really nice Colombian for espresso. I have a really nice Kenyan. And he'll make the best espresso you ever tasted. But it's maybe 1 or 2 people a day coming in ordering that. The majority of his clients are Thai people who work it's in an industrial area. So there's like a post office, I think Nestle or one of these big kind of conglomerates, they have an office there. So basically between sort of lunchtimes and just before work hours, he has a line of people and they just want sweet iced coffee, like milk iced coffee with loads of sugar syrup. And he's just like, look, I could be really strict and stick to my guns and only sell espresso and I would be out of business in a month. So this way, what I have to do is I have to suck it up. I'm giving them a good quality coffee still because my coffee beans for espresso are still good. They're getting what they want. The money that they're paying me keeps the door open so that people like me or the other 2 people a day can come in and get what he considers and we consider a good espresso. So I think there's very few places now that can be super strict and still make it run, sadly. But maybe that's going to change.
Because the market is not quite big enough yet to keep specialty coffee alive. Yeah. When you think about, like, you've talked about some very famous coffee people there in Europe and in Asia and so on. So when you think about the world of specialty coffee in your mind, tell me what that picture looks like. Is it all around the people, or is it around the country, or is it around the flavors, or what does the industry look like to you?
I think for me, if someone says specialty coffee, the first thing I think of is like good quality beans. So beans that are not commodity, that are not just from farms where they grow tons of Robusta or low quality coffee. So coffee has a quality, like you grade it. I don't know so much about that. Luke will know a lot more than me and and friends of mine. But there are certain things I look for when they grade coffee, like the sweetness, the density, the quality of the beans, the whatever. All these things come together to give it a score. So I think it's above 80 something is considered specialty coffee. And then just people who care about the origin, care about the process, care about the farmers, care that it's ethically sourced, that they're getting paid enough money, that it's not exploitive, that they're drying it and processing it well in a proper way. And then they're roasting it well as well. So somebody who actually knows how to roast the coffee for that particular bean to bring out the qualities of that bean, not roast it to death and burn it, but to do, okay, this one has nice jasmine notes, so I'm going to roast it to bring out those nuances so that when we prepare it, we know that this is going to be the flavor that you get. So yeah, quality and knowing where it's from, the footprint, and the farmers having that relationship.
Yeah,
the origin.
When it comes to distribution of specialty coffee, is it kind of controlled by 4 or 5 major distributors around the world, or are we seeing that smaller, more boutique growers can export their product all around the world much easier nowadays than they used to be able to?
Both. Speaking, I mean, I personally know more about Asia and Scandinavia. So in Scandinavia, you have a company called Nordic Approach, and they've been doing this for many, many years. So like in the beginning, you have Java and Mocha, and Tim Wendelboe is the famous one, of course. And so they've gotten their coffee from Nordic Approach. So the office is actually above Tim Wendelboe's coffee shop.
Okay.
So they are, for years, they've been going to farms, making relationships with them, doing big orders so that they can bring in tons. And then they have detailed lists on their website. And so coffee shops and roasters all around the world, or mostly Scandinavia, can just order like 1 ton of this coffee or 100 kilos of whatever, and then they send it to them, and then it's up to the individual roaster to roast it, of course. You have those kind of companies around the world too, but I feel like because of the internet now, people there's less of the middleman, so there's now the ability of just finding someone online who has a farm in Sulawesi in Indonesia or in Panama, and then just writing them and saying like, hey, can you send us some samples? And then you can check the quality and order and somehow figure out shipping. So definitely both.
Are there any security concerns, biosecurity or otherwise, with sending green beans
I
across the
guess so.
world? Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
And
never
is it,
bought green beans, but I assume
yeah.
it would be quite, yeah, it could be problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And is it easier? So you're saying it's easier for growers to get their product into the hands of specialty coffee consumers these days than it was? Yeah.
I think 100%, because there's more and more specialty coffee shops, and all of them want to get good quality beans, because otherwise they're kind of like not priced out, but if you've got two coffee shops next to each other in Amsterdam and one of them has great specialty beans and the other one has all the D grade or the C grade beans, you're probably going to go to the good one. So the ones that have got relationships with the farmers. That could be hard for a new one to come into. The fact that like here you've got Coffee Collective and April and La Cabra and Prologue, and they've had relationships with the same farms for decades. So maybe they get first pick. But if you really want to, you could I know a lot of people who just fly to Ethiopia and spend a month going and visiting collectives or cooperatives. And then, you bring your coffee equipment with you, you brew coffee, you roast it on a little ikawa or something. And then you go, okay, can we make a relationship here where we buy a certain amount of tons from you every year? So you could do that if you're a little bit adventurous, for sure, which makes it really cool because you could find something that's amazing that the farmer maybe doesn't have the capacity to go online and promote his wares, and then suddenly in a village in Kenya and you find the most amazing Kenyan coffee. That could happen.
Yeah. You alluded earlier on to ethically sourced coffee, which of course is a huge, big buzz concept around the world, or a big buzz discussion around the world these days. What's your experience in Asia around the welfare of coffee farmers and coffee workers? Is it improving? Is it staying the same, or where do you see things at the moment?
I think it's improving. There's still, of course, there's a lot of child labor everywhere, especially in Africa and South America, Central America. But then you've got this dichotomy where, okay, it's not ideal for a 13-year-old boy to be picking coffee cherries, but at the same time, if the family is on the poverty line and his $2 or $5 he makes every day is going to be the difference of them eating or not, it's kind of difficult to tell them that, oh, it's not moral for a kid to be working, he should be going to school. And then they're like, yeah, but his father is ill, his mother can't work, so that's their only source of income. And I've talked to a lot of people who say that because a lot of people have been migrating to America from Central America, like Honduras, Nicaragua, these countries. So it's getting harder and harder to find workers for the coffee farms. So a lot of the coffee farms don't have enough workers. So it's something that's going to be an issue in the future if they don't resolve it, because there's only so much you can raise the prices of the beans to pay the workers when the end customer is going to go, I'm not paying 25 quid for a coffee.
Yeah.
So you've got to pay them well, but you've also got to keep the customer happy. And of course, the middleman has to make his money, the roaster has to make their money. So yeah, it's difficult. But I think in Asia, there's more attention to it now, and farms are doing more social media, so they're kind of showing that side, like, okay, we're using organic methods, we're not using pesticides or herbicides or things like that, which is all very positive.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is the agitation for change and improvement in worker welfare that we see in the Western world, is that being transferred, or is that making its way to the coffee farm in Asia, let's say?
I guess that's hard to tell.
Yeah,
I think I don't think anywhere on the same level as here, for sure. There's much more room for exploitation there, or the potential for it there, for sure, because there's a lot of corruption. So a coffee farmer knows maybe he's supposed to abide by certain standards, but he also knows that if he just gives a little bit of money to the local mayor, he'll turn his eye. These kind of things happen a lot there. So it's different. It's difficult. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
What's
The other
your
thing
what's your
is,
sweet? Yeah.
sorry, yeah. The other thing that's difficult is one of my friends, Nick. He runs a coffee shop in Sumatra, and his thing is that he roasts aceh gayo, this a bean from Sumatra, but he also wants to try and help local micro roasters. So he sells their coffee at his coffee shop also as like a rotation. His problem is that the quality is so up and down. So you've got like 1 month he'll order 100 kilos of some coffee and it'll all be perfect, and then the next month he has to send back 70% of it. So it's a lot of inconsistencies when you don't have farms that are established. They don't have enough money to buy proper beds to dry the coffee on, or washing stations, whatever it is. So you can get wild inconsistencies with the quality of the coffee, which makes it hard for him.
Yeah. Let's talk about technology in the industry today. Are you well schooled up on blockchain, for
Yeah,
example, and is that playing a bigger part in the specialty coffee industry today? Obviously, it's relatively new, but where do you see it working? Where do you see it not working?
I can see blockchain working for logistics, of course, for sure, and especially traceability. Like if you want to know, especially if you've got like a very expensive coffee, like a high-end geisha or something, and you never know if it actually came from that farm, and or if it's somebody who's kind of put in something inferior and then they're charging the prices because they're going for such crazy amounts. So blockchain can be used very well for tracing, so you can actually see every step that coffee has moved until it got to your shop. Um, there's like VeChain, which is one of the, it's like a crypto, but it's a big company, and they do that. So they work with, I think, BMW and with a lot of high end brands like handbags, and of course because you've got forgeries in handbags. So they work with salmon because there's a lot of seafood that you really want to know your seafood's fresh. So if you can follow it, you can know exactly when it was caught, when it was put in the freezer on the ship, when it got to port, all this kind of stuff. You can see the whole process on blockchain. So that definitely could work for coffee, I think.
Yeah, and is it being used for coffee at all at the moment?
Actually, I have no idea about that. I'll have to
Yeah.
ask some people I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be an interesting article for you to write someday.
Yeah. Coffee on the blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that in a few countries in Central America, they are using blockchain to. Let me see. It is I think it's is it the watermelon crop that they're tracking everything on? I think it might be
Oh yeah.
watermelon that they're tracking the whole industry on blockchain, so they're able to trace it from source all the way to the end user. So it's a really, really interesting, and it is a way potentially of protecting the people who work in the industry back at the origin as well. So I think more developments on that one to follow, I would say.
Yeah, I'm sure. My
Yeah,
my only regret with Central America is I backpacked through the whole from Panama to Mexico City many years ago, but I wasn't into specialty coffee then. It's like I
yeah,
went
yeah,
through Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, all these countries with amazing coffee, and I just drank whatever I got. So
yeah,
it would have been so great. I was even staying in the coffee farms in Panama, and I had some really good coffee, but I just didn't know what it was back then.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really keen to get back to the Benjamin story, and
Sure.
Do you see yourself still as a backpacker? Do you see yourself as an advanced backpacker? Do you see yourself as a citizen of the world? How do you view yourself these days?
Yeah, I think citizen of the world is probably the most yeah, the right thing, because I'm not very, I don't really notice when I'm traveling. It's very normal. It's kind of like a commute for me. So like, yeah, last week I was in Finland visiting my parents, and then before that I was in Norway I had to write a Sprudge guide for Oslo. So I was there, and then I was in Malmo the month before doing a Sprudge guide for Malmo, and then back in Copenhagen. And I don't really, it's not a thing where I'm panicking 3 days before, like, oh God, I'm going to Norway, I need to pack. It's kind of more like I wake up and just grab some things, go to the airport. Um, it's very, yeah, it's a very normal part of my life to travel. So I don't consider it anything exotic. I feel I've gone out of my way to compartmentalize my life into travel. So I have like one bag, and then I have a small backpack with my laptop. I have a coffee grinder. I have a small scale. I have a dripper so I can make my coffee on the road. And then I have a small projector I travel with because I love cinema. So it's things that people would have at home. They have their big TV and they have their setup like espresso maker. I have to do that version for the road. So I have a few things that that I bring with me so that it feels more like I'm actually getting parts of being at home while I'm on the road.
Yeah, I'm fascinated listening to you. Fascinated listening to you because you were talking about the roasters and the shops that you know in Indonesia
Hmm.
and the guys that you know in Oslo, just like they're friends of yours around the corner.
Hmm.
So the world is truly your village, isn't it? And you know all the local shops and owners and so on. It's an amazing way to view the world.
And
And
like,
you might think that's normal, but that's completely not normal, you know?
oh no, I appreciate that. And like you were saying earlier about your experience with when you talked to the coffee shop guy and you got the Ethiopian coffee, and he was like, "Ah, okay." This kind of thing, I feel like specialty coffee is a great bridge into local cultures as well. So I have a ton of friends in Thailand and Malaysia just because of coffee, and it's exactly like you said. I went to a coffee shop, I ordered something that maybe other people didn't order or not that many people ordered. And then you start talking with the barista, and then they introduce you to the roaster, and then they introduce you to the owner, and then they remember you next time you come, and then they're like, "Oh, I have this bag of special coffee. Do you want to try it?" And blah 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 blah. So that's happened to me here as well. I just went to a coffee shop called Norange, which is run by the Greek roasting champion from 22, and I ordered a coffee from him. And behind me in the line was just like flat white, flat white, flat white, flat white cappuccino, flat white, flat white. And then I was like, "Can I get a light roast Ethiopian B60?" And I asked how they pour it, like 1 to 15, 1 to 16, and then immediately he was like, "Oh, okay. Do you want to try my Kenyan espresso afterwards?" I was like, "Yeah." We sat for 5 hours and talked, and he gave me like 6 different coffees to try. It was these kind of things are amazing. I love it. Absolutely love
Yeah,
it.
that is absolutely what happened this morning, and that's a huge treat when that happens, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely don't want to get too deep on you now, but when people talk about their lives and they talk about what they do for a living and so on, there's a deep sense of purpose and sometimes there's a deep sense
Hmm.
of purpose and a very clear understanding of the why. It seems to me that you have a clear understanding of your why. It sounds like you're on a mission. It sounds like you've hit a swim lane in your life that is going to take you forward for very many years to come
Mm.
in terms of the coffee world. Is that a fair assessment, or?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I think it's a balance between food and coffee, because I write a website myself which I don't advertise much. It's just more word of mouth. It's called The Mouth, and that's just about food, a little bit about coffee, and then Sprudge and Barista is just about coffee. But for me, absolutely, I my purpose is to discover places and write about them, because I love when other people find them. It's kind of like a DJ playing songs. You've gone, you've researched, you've bought all the records, you've listened to them at home, then you play them, and then people come up to you and go, "Oh my God, what's this song? It's amazing." And then you know that that person's going to go home and buy the record and have a lot of joy out of that song. You didn't write it, but you introduced it to them. So you were kind of the middleman. So that's the thing. It's like I didn't grow the beans or make the laksa or the ramen, but I discovered it for myself and write about it. And then if somebody else finds it and writes me and says I had the best ramen ever in this country, in this city which I've been to, I love that. I think it's amazing. It's great to know people are having good food when they're traveling and not ending up at some crappy chain or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
same with coffee. I love the Sprudge guides because they let me do. They don't have any control over what I do. I pitch them the places I'm going to try. So I'll send them like 10, a list of 10 places for Oslo or Bangkok, and then I could write about all of them or 5 of them. So I try and do one that's like very specialty, one that's like a cozy cafe vibe, one that maybe has pastries also, and then a few, like maybe one that's known for espresso. So it's kind of like anyone who's into coffee will find something they like. It's not just 10 pour over places.
yeah. When I was traveling full time, what's that, 30 something years ago, nearly 35 years ago, the big thing that we all tapped into was the Lonely Planet
Oh, yeah.
guidebooks, right?
Yeah, I used
And
to
I'm
use
sure
them
that
all the time.
they're online now. So you effectively are the Lonely Planet guidebook for coffee, right? For specialty coffee.
Well, a little kink in the chain, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. But I used to read the Lonely Planet all the time when I traveled in the 90s.
yeah, yeah. Does it still
Always.
exist? I presume it still exists online then.
Yeah, I think online, not print. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, of course, I use, when I travel myself to a new city, I use Sprudge also. I've used them for years because I find that they have more the specialty coffee cafes. So if I go to London, for example, the Sprudge guide will show me good places to drink coffee, and whereas another coffee publication might focus more on cafes. So it'll be more like, oh, you can get a good avocado toast here, or they have a nice ambience, or something like that. Whereas Sprudge is very focused on good quality coffee. So definitely,
yeah,
they're like the Lonely Planet of coffee, and then I'm luckily get to write some guides for them.
yeah. Talk to me about coffee tourism. Is that a big thing these days around the world?
For
Could it be a
sure.
big thing? Is that a place where you could find some commercial outlets for your talents as well?
There's definitely groups of people who travel for coffee. So especially Norway, like Oslo, people go there just to go to Tim Wendelboe and a place called Supreme Roast Works. Those two are kind of the OG light roast Nordic style places. Same in Bangkok. There's people who go there for specialty coffee. Japan, a lot. Um, I don't think there's that many. It's not that well known as in food. People go to obviously cities just to eat. Um, I don't think we've got there yet. I think there's probably an opening for people to do more like a guided, curated tour. Like, okay, we're going to take 5 people to 5 cafes in Bangkok or Tokyo or whatever, and show them a few different places. There's room for that, but I'm not the person for that because I'm almost 50 and people just annoy me when if there's like someone who's just complaining the whole time, or it's like then they lose their wallet, or then they forgot something at the hotel, or they didn't take out money, and you're just standing there like this is taking forever. So for me, and there's always going to be someone who's like, this place sucks, I hate this coffee, and it's like, oh, I don't want to deal with that every day of my life.
Great.
So let someone else do it.
Yeah. So where to from here, Benjamin?
In an ideal world, I've got 3 more guides coming up for Sprudge, which I'm writing at the moment. And then I'm going to pitch them. I want to do 4 in the Middle East, like I mentioned earlier. So I would like to do like in December or something. I would like to go to Cairo. Cairo has a really good specialty scene, and then do Dubai, Muscat, and Abu Dhabi. So do 4 kind of North Africa and Middle East
Yeah.
countries, cities, and then do like maybe March could be Middle East month. So that would be
Yeah.
perfect. And then ideally just head back to Asia, get a job online, stay there, find more coffee places, write more about food.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
see yourself popping your clogs in Asia, or will you come back to Europe to do that?
Uh, Europe for me is more of a summer place. Like but because first of all, Asia's too hot in the summer. It gets unbearable. And then of course my family, my parents and my sister are in and brother are in Europe, and all my friends or a lot of my friends. So I'll always come back here, but I would prefer it if I came back for like 3 months, maybe June, July, August, something like that. And then yeah, have a small place somewhere in Thailand or Malaysia. I used to live in Hong Kong as well many years ago. I love Hong Kong. So not too fussy where, because everything in Asia is quite accessible.
Yeah. Is there any part of your parents that would have wished you to have the normal lifestyle in inverted commas?
I think it would have helped for my mum. She gets a bit stressed when we're because my sister also used to travel a lot. She's settled down now. She's in Margate, uh, in
Yeah.
England.
Yeah.
She's married and they live there. So they're more like the settled people, even though they used to travel a lot. I think she knows that I'm going to always travel, but as they're getting older, I think they would wish that we were closer. But I'm not going to live in Finland, so
Right.
hard luck. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, look, it's been really great to catch up with you, Benjamin, and I so enjoy reading your posts online in the specialty coffee community. It's you certainly have a talent, and I'm thrilled to see that you're finding and many outlets for that talent as well. And I love your fascination and your sense of wonder and sense of adventure around the whole coffee industry. And I wish you well, and I hope things work out for the best, which they will, which they will. And
Likewise with you. It's really good what
yeah,
you're doing, and I'm happy that you took over. And this all wouldn't have happened without Luke, because literally it was maybe a few months ago or a year ago that we got in contact. We were in contact a little bit on a group WhatsApp that we have with our classmates, and then he mentioned about this group, so I joined, and then it's been really nice to reconnect with Luke through coffee also. And then yeah, we just comment and chat with each other. And then you entered the picture as well, so that's cool. And I was quite surprised to see Robert on the first talk you did, because he
yeah,
disappeared for a long time. I was going to
yeah.
ask him about some tips for Dubai, and then I was
I
like,
was
"Where's
gonna
he
say,
gone?"
I was
Yeah,
gonna
where's he
say,
gone?
yeah,
So
yeah,
at least he's alive, so that's good. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think in closing, that is the essence of what we're trying to achieve in the special coffee community. It's about bringing people from all walks of life and from all parts of the world together to
Hmm.
celebrate this thing called specialty coffee. So you're a living example of that. You're the embodiment of it. So thanks for joining us on
My
the
pleasure. Thanks for
show,
asking. Yeah, it's been really
and we'll
fun.
stay in touch.
Yep, will do.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is called Just Getting Started with Nicky Hughes. Kindly leave a review and share the show with your friends. It really does help us to grow and reach more amazing people like today's guest. Now, if you too feel like you're just getting started, join me and other like minded folks in my free school.com community, which is called, yes, you've guessed it, Just Getting Started. It's full of restless professionals who are ready to make a change and want to network with others who have walked that path already. You can also get in touch with today's guest by connecting with me in my community, again, which is called Just Getting Started. Be sure to join us next time, where we'll be getting to know another legend who's had the cojones to make major change in their lives and are now reaping the benefits big time. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and don't let the old man or the old woman in.